Hello everybody, and welcome back. In this video we're going to cover my favorite topic in regards to market structure. How do you apply multiple time frames and only take trades when market structure aligns on a higher time frame versus a lower time frame? So I'm going to introduce a couple concepts. The first concept is going to be what's called the high time frame chart. You'll hear me refer to this as HTF, high time frame. So you can see we have two charts. The chart on the right is a weekly chart. This is going to be my high time frame. And then you're going to hear me talk about a trading time frame chart, or TTF. That is going to be my chart on the left. And this is a daily or a 1,440 minute chart. What I've done is I have aligned my mouse so you can see if I hover over a bar on my left chart, you can see where price is on the weekly chart. And to do that, you just come up here and you have a couple options. You have global, which is what I have currently on both charts. I have global on my daily, and then I have global on my weekly. Now, what this does is if I move my mouse on my weekly chart, you can see that my daily chart moves with it, and vice versa. If I were to move my mouse on the daily chart, my weekly chart will move with it. Now that's great to be able to see where you are on both charts at all times. However, it can be a little frustrating if I come over here to my weekly. You can see my daily moves sometimes too fast, and I may not want that. So one option would be to use the global no time scroll. So now if I scroll on my daily, the weekly moves. However, if I come over to my weekly, now my daily doesn't move. It's personal preference, it really doesn't matter. Okay, let's move on. So what I've done here is I have applied the buy-sell zone indicator to both charts. Here are the settings, just the standard settings. Now one thing I do want to do, just to make this easier to see, is I want to take my sell zones and make them transparent, because I don't want to see them. So let's do that on both charts. Okay, so now we have a pretty clean chart. So here's the whole idea of this multi-time frame analysis. Let's come look at this move. And I have no idea whether this will line up or not, but I want to look at this move because this is a pretty big move. And if we come over to our daily, you can see what that actually looks like. It is a monster move on the daily. On the weekly, it still looks like a big move, but it is definitely pronounced when we come and look at the daily. So what we have is we have a situation here where the weekly is still bullish when it comes to market structure. Even though we've had this big move down, my last zone is still a bullish zone, and I would really want to only be looking for longs. Of course, as I've discussed, I don't short stocks anyway, so that's all I'm looking for. But hypothetically, let's just say that I trade both sides. Even here, when it comes into this zone, I still would want to be looking for this side. So while everybody else out there is freaking out because we had this really big move, and see when this is, what year are we in? 2011. Okay. So we had just come off of the 2009 lows. 2011 had another pretty big move down. People were probably freaking out. But if you are a student of market structure and you have an objective system that you're trading, when you see this, it doesn't matter, right? Because you have rules that you're going to live and breathe by. And your rules would tell you, hey, when I come into this zone, I want to find a way to take this to the upside. And you can see what happens, right? So here is the whole idea behind the multi-time frame analysis. We are going to use a higher time frame. It doesn't matter what it is. Personally, I like multiples of either 4 or 5. Okay? Now, what I mean by that is if I have a daily, then I either want to have a 4-day or a 5-day as my high time frame. A weekly would be a 5-day. If I'm trading an hourly, then I want to use a 4-hour or a 5-hour for my high time frame. If I'm a day trader and I'm trading a 5-minute chart, then I want to trade a 20-minute or a 25-minute chart. Okay, that's my personal preference. All right? So here's the next step to all of this. What I want to look for is when both time frames align. And what I mean by that is, if you can imagine, we're on the weekly chart. If you can imagine, we have this move down. And when we look at our daily chart over here, we're in a bear trend. However, we're still in a bull trend over here. So what I want to wait for is when both time frames align. I have a bull trend here. I want to wait for a bull trend here, and I want to see the market structure overlap. So I would want to see a daily market structure zone that fills inside of this weekly zone. Now, there's two ways to look at this. One, if I already have an existing daily market structure zone, can I trade that? Meaning this zone here, now if we come over to our daily, this zone right here is already existing and it's inside of this zone. So would that count? I personally don't use it. What I like to use, for me, I want to wait for price to come in here, and then I want to wait for the daily to reestablish itself, and then print a new zone that is inside of your high time frame zone. Okay, so now let's see what the daily ends up looking like. We make this move down. Now what? Oh, perfect. All right, so now what I want to see is a situation where my daily chart gives me bullish market structure. And it looks like we're going to get it here. Okay, so here we go. Here's a situation where we have our move down on the weekly. We have a zone that actually, here, let's draw our zone low on this daily. So if we line up our crosshairs, we can see our zone low is about right there, right? So this is the low of our high time frame zone. Here is the high of this zone. So if you think about this, the only section that overlaps is going to be from this zone, or from this zone high to this part of the zone. So this is the only part that overlaps. So for me, this is the only area that I'm going to be looking for a trade. And you can see you do get some nice action in here. If you're trading options, you're going to get some just even out of this move here, you will get some nice profit. Okay, and this happens relatively quickly. Now, I do want a much bigger move than this personally, so I'm not satisfied with this. Let's just continue. So here's what happens if we wait for a few more days. Let's delete this top zone. Or the top line. And let's keep this bottom line because that is the low of our zone. So now we have this new zone. And inside of this zone, we have from the high to this line inside of our high time frame zone. I would have an opportunity up here to take a trade. You can see that doesn't work out. Price comes down here and it comes through the bottom of the zone. So I don't really get a situation here where I would want to take a trade. And then again, we're down here at the lows, but we are just below where I would want to be taking a trade because I have bars that are below my line. And then I'm not going to be taking trades with this action up here because here's my move, the low of my move. I want to be catching trades during the retrace at the bottom of that retrace, not up here at the top. So then we come back down right here. Okay, I want you to take a look at this. We were right at the bottom of the zone. We are off of a nice retrace. Here's where I want to engage a trade. All right. And there we go. We get a really nice move out of that zone. So again, to recap this specific move, the initial zone that was put in didn't really give us much of an opportunity. Now, we did get a nice little move. I mean, it ends up being about a 5-7% move maybe. Then we get a new zone. We come down. We have our retrace. And we don't really get a chance to take a trade down here. Now, depending on how you personally trade, this could be an area that you would engage. What this would do is it will at least give you an idea of when to start looking for a trade. And it's going to give you precision on your entries. So if you have a system that you're trading that would tell you, hey, this is a spot that I want to be engaging, then you have a perfect area here. And my guess is, and we'll go into this later in the training, but maybe you're a person who trades stochastic divergence. My guess is you have it right here. And this would be a perfect spot. Okay, so let's continue and keep looking for more of these areas. All right, so now we come over to our weekly. We have a really nice move from here all the way up. I mean, look at that. That's almost a $10 move on a $48 stock. It's over 15%. All right, so now we're going to come into this zone. There's a new zone. Let's just see if we get an opportunity to take a trade. All right, so here's a situation that I was referring to before. Here's an area where we have an old zone, and we come into it. It's already existing. And, I mean, this is one that maybe you have a style that you would be able to take trades out of here. I personally don't. So for me, this is just a trade that I'm going to miss. All right? You can't catch them all. If you try to catch all trades, you're going to end up going broke in your trading account. It's not worth it. It doesn't, and it's too stressful. There are 500 stocks in the S&P 500. You're going to always be able to find a trade. Okay, now let's continue. So here we go. We have some more zones up here. Let's get our daily chart caught up. Again, here's another example where we have this zone. It prints first, and then we get our action out of here. But I do want you to see this. See, the difference between this and this prior area back here, I want you to really take note of the difference, because this is important. And it's just something to think about, okay? Again, I still don't do this. But you can see this is an amazing move. This is the only zone that you have here on the daily. This is what I would call a zone number 1. And you also have a zone number 1 on the weekly. Back here, I had 1, then I had another zone print up here, another zone print, and another one. So I had 3 zones print after this one. So I call this an old zone. Now, if we come over here, we don't have that. You see the difference? It's very important. Again, when I'm testing, my results are not going to pick this up. Maybe when you're trading, this is something that works great for you. Okay? Again, it gives you a stock to look at and an area to watch. All right, so let's continue then. Let's see if we get... Okay, perfect. Here we go. All right. So here's a zone. Let's draw them in. So we're going to draw in the high of that zone, which is right there, I think. Pretty close. Kind of hard to get that exact. 79.38. Yeah, good enough. Okay. And we know that the zone started right here. I can't remember what the hotkey is for my vertical line. Okay, the zone starts here, and this is the high of the zone. So here is my first daily zone where I actually have an overlap. And the high of this zone does not overlap, but you can see my overlap starts right here. So price comes down, I get the retrace that I want. Price comes down here, and this, my friends, is where I'm engaging a trade. Look how beautiful that is. I get a move immediately from, let's call my entry would probably be somewhere up here. So let's call it 79 to 84. It's a nice move, right? Now, imagine if you're trading options, you've got a great move here. All right. Now, we end up with a, am I missing data? No, wow, that's definitely a gap. So you would be out of this trade before that happens, most likely, depending on how your system. But I have referenced this in other videos. When you're trading a daily chart, you are going to have situations just like this. And trust me, I've tested hundreds of thousands of trades, and even on the few times that this happens, it doesn't even come close to touching the amount of profit that the system generates. Okay, so that one looks really good. Let's keep going. So here's another situation. Look at this, guys. Let's think about something here. See, this is why I love the weekly chart. All right? Price, this is going to freak people out, but look what happens. It literally it comes down, and then it just bounces right back. And in 1, 2, 3 weeks, we are back above the high from where this drop occurred. Everyone else is freaking out. But if you're a student of market structure, you know this is a spot for you to engage a trade. The question is, are we going to be able to catch an overlap here? My guess is no, because that's such a fast move. But let's find out. Yeah, okay, so I was right. There was no, if we're only using the overlap, there was no way to get a trade here. But if you're a stochastic divergence trader, you are going to have divergence right here on your daily inside of a weekly zone. And this is going to be a zone number 2, right? Because this is 1, and then this becomes 1, which makes this one 2. So this is going to be a zone 2, which I trade the last 2 zones off of the high time frame. All right, let's continue. Here we are. We're back into a zone here. I doubt we're going to get an opportunity to take a trade, and you can see we don't. All right, let's continue then. Okay, let's see if we can get a trade up here. Not there yet. Okay, wow, look at this. This is perfect. Okay, so let's mark up our chart again. So let's get the beginning of the zone, which is right here. And then let's get the zone high. Right here. I grabbed the wrong line. Right there. Okay, so this zone prints after our high time frame zone. And this is the section that overlaps. So we have this initial move. We come in. Here's where we would engage. Right there. It's beautiful, isn't it? Look at that move. They don't always go this quickly, but when they do, it feels really good. Okay, let's get rid of those. And there's not very much left in this chart, so let's just continue. And look what happens. It comes back into it here. We get another trade. All right, so now we have another zone. Looks like we're going to get another opportunity here. So let's do our vertical line again. Start of the zone is here. The high of the zone is here. So we can see that both of these zones here are completely inside of our high time frame zone. I would be taking the first one, obviously, because it's the first one that would appear. So here we go. We have a zone right here. So this is where I'd be looking for a trade, and then I would again look for a trade. Let's just say that for whatever reason I get stopped out of this, I would look for another one. And holy cow, guys. I have a trade here, and then a trade here. So in that, I would only have 2 trades if maybe I moved my stop after this move, which I wouldn't. I would have just had this trade, and I would have remained in it through this move, and then boom, and I'm out. I mean, it's incredible, right? Let's continue. Vertical line, get rid of it. Okay. Nothing to do here. All right, here we go, another one. So let's mark it up. Well, yeah, I'll just go ahead and put the line. I did a horizontal line. Oh, we'll use this one to get the high of the zone. There's the high of the zone. We already know that the zone starts back here, so we know for sure that this entire zone is inside of that high time frame zone. So here we go. This is where I'd be looking for a trade. Now on this one, I do get a gap up the next day. I still would want to be able to get into this trade, and you can see what ends up happening. All right. Let's see if we have anything else that we get to do. Okay, here is a situation. Like this one, I am unsure. It looks like they print at the same time. See that? It's going to come down to, this is the 15th. And that bar. Okay, well, let's just make the assumption that they print at the same time, okay? I think that's probably true. So then I would have another trade right here. You can see it. Another beautiful trade. Okay, so now here we go. We're starting to get into some choppy areas. Again, not all trades are going to look as pretty as what we've seen so far. So here is a situation. We can clearly see that this zone on the daily prints before that weekly zone. So here we have a situation where the high of that high time frame zone is right here. So the top of this little zone is not overlapping, but the bottom of it is. And here we don't have an area to be able to trade because, well, I don't have a bar that I would be taking a trade off of. So that's not going to work out. And then again here, just the bottom portion of this zone is overlapping. So that one doesn't work out, meaning I wouldn't even be in the trade. Okay, here we go. We have a zone. The entire daily zone is inside of the high time frame zone. So we would be looking for a trade in here if it comes back down. Now, what ends up happening is we end up with more zones at print on the daily. So I now have an old zone, so I'm not going to take a trade there. All right. Let's continue. We've almost gone through 10 years on this. Well, actually, it'll end up being 12 years. And we can go faster here because we don't have any zones. There are no zones. But you know what? Here's another thing to look at. And I haven't even brought this up, but you can get overlaps in your zones on your daily, right? I have a zone here, price comes back in, I get another zone where it overlaps, and you can see all these overlapping zones. Those are also areas that you could look for trades. Okay, if we do a quick run through, we can go find when this occurs. You can see here, right? Right here, but price does not make it back in till way later. And look at that. Here's where it hits, and boom. Here, you can see it. I mean, it's remarkable, guys. Look at this. Right here. Again. I mean, guys, I can't make this up. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? Okay. Well, that wraps up this video. And I hope you guys get excited about this as I am. And honestly, I look forward to hearing from you and hearing about the different ways that you're going to take this information and apply it to what you're doing personally. Because it's transformative, guys. I personally feel like as retail traders, we have an obligation to help each other because we are all at such a disadvantage that anytime we have stuff like this and we come up with cool ideas, it needs to be shared in some way. And that's the whole idea of this community. All right, that's all for this video. In the next video, I'm going to walk you all through some of the indicators that I have that will help you do some of this automatically. See you in the next video.